Are you looking for the best welders machine? In this video we will look at some of the 7 best welders machine on the market. Before we get started with our video, we have included links in the description. So make sure you check those out to see which one is in your budget range. Starting at number 1. ArcCaptain 200 amp. After trying a few at a lower price, I adjusted my price point and found the one I am in love with. The ArcCaptain is one I will keep. Even after I get better at welding, probably with this welder, and get a more advanced welding machine, I will hang on to this one due to the portability and tiny size. My guess is if I stacked 4 shoeboxes for my jumbo feet on top of one another, this welder would be more petite by a little. The machine is easy to carry with its top handle and an included carry strap. It is lightweight and small. For the off-road crowd, if you can make enough amperage in the field and on the rocks, this welder can fix your trail repairs and not take up too much room. The machine will do all the welding I need, even fix the RZR when the rutted out roads around the cabin brake parts that are never in stock. Now, all I need is the skill level to use all options. Once again, I called the expert to help me set it up to weld misaligned holes in rifle actions from scope base attempts at the home bench with a hand drill. He showed me the right setting to get started, and the welder would adjust to what I was doing. All I had to do was correctly set the amperage for the thickness, which was very friendly and protective of my skill level. The machine is a dark red, a beautiful color palette for a work machine. The LED display is easily read and seen from my bench as I use it. The knobs are good sized and easy to adjust even while wearing gloves. The MIG gun is good quality. The lead wire could be upgraded if you do lots of stick welding. The MIG gun uses 2 style expendables, so getting parts is not proprietary. I can get new stuff at Home Depot if needed and not wait for an order from China. The machine does not have a gas regulator and no gas bottle. It does come with all the hoses and hookups, however. Number 2. YesWelder 200 amp. Auto change to feed in voltage when setting amperage. Maybe the best welder for the amateur level DIYer on the market. What makes it so good is that it costs less than $150 to handle any DIY project. That's what. If I knew all of the welding tricks the maintenance guys use with multi-use machines, I would never need anything more than this machine. It is possible to spot weld with this machine with fancy or not fancy welding utilizing a piece of MIG wire held in the stick clamp. If I were to get a hot rod that needed a ton of bodywork, this machine would weld the thin metal all day long and do it in the wind without complaining. The build quality of the YesWelders is well known. This machine or brand is making the big name old school guys nervous. YesWelders go up in price from this model, and they do almost anything by the time the price tag gets around $1,000. This is going to replace the high dollar machines someday, in my bet. In hobby shops, that is. The MIG gun and stick clamps are built well, but the TIG function needed a separate purchase, and since I am only looking to test out MIG stuff right now, I did not order the TIG gear. This welder is a very simplistic machine and damn near fits in a toolbox. I have a friend by the cabin come by to show me how to get it set to weld back together on the RZR if needed, and he borrowed it to take to work on some field watering pipes, and I have not seen it back yet. According to him, he plugs it into a small generator in the back of his pickup and welds until he runs out of MIG wire, then takes a break, replaces the spool, and welds until he needs to replace the spool again. Number 3. ToolIom 200 amp. Welds up to 5/30 seconds mild steel. Helpful review. Today, I will discuss my journey to buy a cheap MIG welder for the gun shop. Notice the critical part of that I did not say. I will also practice and get better at welding, just buying a new welder. Operator errors are still my main issue when welding, or at least I call it welding. My buddy calls it names I can't type for the public to read. The first MIG welder I ordered to test is the ToolIom. This welder fits my ignorant parameters of small size, runs on 110 volts, and costs less than $300. The reason I am not getting a bigger and better MIG welder is I use welders to fill up holes that have become egg-shaped or misdrilled holes by clients, and at times, the gremlins will force me to miss the right spot, and I have to fix my own mistakes. This welder fits all of my parameters and comes in a cool, bright yellow color like all of my shop display gear. This welder will work for what I need in 110 volts if I build car frames or something that needs to be very strong with total penetration. This welder is not the right one, but to fill a hole or build up an area to be filled or milled back to the correct size in a firearm will do the trick. It will do the trick for someone who is an experienced welder and knows how to make the machine do what they want it to do. I am not a professional welder, so I played the fool until a real welder came to my rescue. I will explain in a minute. Number 4. FORNEY 140 amp. Tiny and easy to carry. I saw this listing on Amazon and thought I would try one out to see if this may be a good idea for my hobby shop. The price tag and the high review ratings were the deciding factor. When it arrived, I was excited to see the size and weight. This machine will fit on the shelf under the bench and only uses 120 volts. There is no way to convert or switch to the 240 volts that some other multi-use welders on the budget market. With my minimal abilities in welding, I set it up the same way I had been told. I tried my hand at some repairs on my snow blower, which helped me discover some concrete raised during the winter snowstorms. I figured who would ever know if I weld and have the standard strong but ugly as sin bead on the auger. The first time I used the welder, it worked nicely on flux core wire. I put it away after a few minutes because I wanted to see it work and had not prepped the surface like I should have. I returned to the auger 2 days later and tired again. This machine did not perform like before. Confused, I looked at all the settings and checked them against my notes, and they all lined up to do the same job, but they did not. Number 5. Simder 140 amp. When I went to the shop, I could have been more impressed. This machine will weld in stick or MIG. From what I see, the stick is the only thing with a high rating. The MIG parts are all there, but this factory needs to improve quality assurance. This cost under $100, so I did not expect perfection, but I did expect function. The grounding clamp is wired with heavy braided wire and is a step above most of the cheap welder parts, so it points to that. Points are taken away for short leads. The arc leads are about 6 feet or less, and the power supply is about 3 feet long. The power also has the adapter run 220 volts through the 110 lead when plugged into a 220 volt outlet. The torch wire guide is not adjusted correctly. It could have been a quick fix, but at this point, I just lost faith and put the whole thing back in the packaging, very nice, by the way, and back in the box and returned it. If someone had a dedicated 20 amp fuse and outlet at their bench for a cheap now and then MIG or arc welder, this machine, after some minor work, would be on the money. Suppose you plan to plug this into a dedicated outlet and run the needs or torch to the workpiece. In that case, you must order the more extended parts the same day you order the welder. Number 6. S7 200 amp. This is not a welder welding machine but an excellent hobbyist machine. This MIG welder will work when using a 50-foot 12-gauge extension cord, which is abnormal in welding. Most of the time, a welder has to be plugged directly into the socket and have a dedicated breaker, not this one. The welder does have overload and overheat protection. This will keep everything safe. It may take a bit longer to weld large items as it will need a cooldown period, but to fix a small piece, you are good to go. My buddy has one of these, so I watched a dune buggy chassis being made to see how it worked. Welding the frame and roll cage tubing, this machine never hit the cooldown. Still, it was only welding 2-inch tubing joints and had a professional welder operating it. When the buggy is being welded, it is placed on a pallet and rolled out in the driveway with a pallet jack. That way, the fumes and sparks are not present in the house. All we did was stretch a heavy extension cord, 12 gauge, plugged into an outlet by the bench and let it rip. The bench outlets at his place are on a dedicated circuit. I am unsure how this would work if plugged into a circuit running the fridge, but I'm pretty sure the breaker will blow. That is lots of amperage to pull from a standard house circuit, and usually, they are wired to 15 amp breakers. This welder is rated to weld at 200 amps. Still, we did not do any of that type of welding, and I was only interested in learning more about the MIG capabilities of the low-cost machine. According to him, the $150 Wonder machine was only bought to be on the shelf in case a barbecue frame or lay furniture broke, and he did not have to haul around a machine on a dolly to fix stuff. He found out that the Wonder machine would work for building dune buggies, and it weighs about the same as a case of beer and has a handle. It gets used, and the expensive machine sits idle. Number 7. HZXVoGen 250 amp. Aluminum MIG welder. From what I have been told, this machine can weld on 110 volts but should be used in a 240 volt outlet and circuit. It sounds like a great attempt to make it fit everyone's needs and have the 110 option, but it is too much welder to play in the minor leagues and needs the full power 240 setup. I know many guys who build rock crawlers around here. I am in the state that owns Moab. When I talked to some folks in the rock crawling world, one builder told me to set up this machine when plugging the wires in and ensure my polarity is correct for what I am welding. I thanked this builder for the excellent advice, then looked up what they meant by polarity setups. I learned that different welding types require the leads to be plugged in differently. Luckily, I have welding folks in my corner who set up what I need for the minimal welding I do. The builders I spoke to told me the welder will weld flux core MIG like it was born to it. The gas-shielded MIG function also works like a dream as well. The primary welding method used was stick welding. The point of this test was not to look at how well the stick welder worked, but that seemed to be the favorite. Maybe that is where everyone was in the build phase. I talked to one builder who used the TIG function to weld some sheet metal, and they said it was excellent and easy to use.